Hello and good morning to you all. So I wanted to come on here and reflect on a quote that I heard. I think I've been hearing this quote for a while, but I heard this quote last week. I was listening to one of my podcasts and I was like, dang, like the way when I heard it, it just hit different. And it's a quote from Albert Einstein and it says, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." And I was just really thinking about like what that means in terms of like what I do. I like to just teach moms about peaceful homekeeping strategies to kind of help them feel less overwhelmed when it comes to the homekeeping and stuff like that. And so I was just thinking about like what that means in terms of like what I'm trying to accomplish and what I do. And I was like, they really have a point because most of us, the problems that we experience in our life, it's because of the way that we think about the problem. You know, we all have different perspectives. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have just different lenses in which we see the world. And so, I could be looking at a problem, and just because of my background and the way that I view it, I might think about this same exact problem completely differently than my sister, who's also looking at the same problem. And therefore, if we're looking at it differently, we're going to approach it differently. So I was just thinking about, some of the problems that a lot of moms that we have when it comes to homekeeping and juggling all of our responsibilities and not feeling overwhelmed. And I'm just like, yeah, basically a lot of the problems that I had before I got my systems together is because of the way that I thought about it. And it was when I started changing my perspective and changing the way that I thought about this problem that I could, create systems that were more helpful and more productive, and that helped me eventually overcome my struggles with homekeeping. So I wanted to talk about 4 ways that your old ways of thinking are hindering your progress. I'm not sure if it's actually 4 ways or 3. We're going to go with it, okay? I only have about 9 minutes, so we're going to see what we can reach, and then we'll go from there. So number 1, the ways that your mindset and your problem are actually creating the problem or making it difficult for you to solve. Number 1, you have a limited perspective of what your options are. It's very hard to solve problems when you only think that you have 1, 2, or 3 ways to tackle it, right? And I'm trying to become a person who really believes that the options are infinite. But for a long time, I didn't. When I thought about my strategy and my approach for homekeeping, I thought about the way that I saw growing up. So I was like, okay, maybe that's how I should approach it. I thought about maybe ways that I saw on YouTube. So I'm like, okay, I see all these moms, they're doing the bench cleaning, they're get it all done, they're doing speed cleaning, no strategy, they're just doing that. So that's where I really pulled a lot of my solutions from places that I already saw people, like from basically things that I already saw. And so basically, if I wasn't exposed to that idea of how to do it different, it just made it hard for me to just be creative and really get strategic about how to map this thing out, because I wasn't seeing a lot of options reflected. And so that's one thing that I really like about my peaceful homekeeping community and the conversations that we get to have. I like to just ask like thought-provoking questions. I like to just ask moms like where are they coming from, and I like to give them that space to talk about their obstacles and what's difficult for them, because now when it comes to solving a problem, we don't have to look at it from our very small perspective of the world. We get to explore that problem from lots of different perspectives, and to me that's super powerful. I can't tell you how many times we've had issues come up in the group where people are like, it's very hard for me to show up for this routine for this reason, and somebody's like, oh no girl, I have experience with that, this is what I saw growing up, this is what I've come across, this is what I do. And so by working in community, I find that it really just busts open the doors of possibilities that sometimes it's hard to do when we're working alone. So that's one way that basically your old mindset can be holding you back. It makes it hard to be creative when you're just functioning on what you know or what you've only seen before. Another way that your mindset can be holding you back from making progress and really figuring out this homekeeping thing is that I feel like this whole kind of going back to basing your life on what you've always known. I feel like there's this whole idea in social media that basically if you want to feel like you have your life together, you want to get all the things done, it has to be done in one day, girl. I mean, you better write that long to-do list. You better start from the top and work yourself all the way down to the bottom. And I get it. But you guys, if you guys follow me, follow my channel, y'all know that I do not believe that a plain to-do list is problem solving. It is not strategical at all. And that's how people feel stretched out and burned out and too thin. But it's the fact that I don't feel like we have a lot of representation when it comes to living that turtle life, when it comes to being consistent, slow and steady. And if you continue to think that being, the rabbit and trying to do everything, do it all at once is the only way to be successful, then that mindset for me, that's what I thought, and it really held me back. And that could possibly be what's holding you back, that mindset, instead of allowing yourself to embrace the slow, gentle life. Hey, Amy, allowing yourself to embrace the slow, gentle life. So for me, what does that look like? So you guys know I always talk about this darn pantry, but it's so true, and I feel like it's the most obvious example. You can get that clean, organized, beautiful pantry in one day, stress yourself out, be overwhelmed, and feel frustrated and, burned out. Or you could take your time and do it little by little and still have the same pantry after 3 to 4 days. I'm just saying, it gets the same results, and one is less stressful than the other. So today, Amy, I'm talking about this Albert Einstein quote that I came across. And it says, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So basically, it's the way that we think and the way that we view the world, I feel like, creates the problems that we're dealing with. And so if you want to be able to get out of those problems, you have to sometimes be willing to be open-minded and think about your problems in a different way. And I was saying that's the beauty of community and coaching, is sometimes that people can help you, or even just connecting with people who seem to be able to solve the problem. Sometimes they can give you a different way to view your problem, and then when you view it differently, you can find solutions that can help you get out. So that's what we're talking about. So I talked about two ways so far, and because of time, I'm gonna throw out one more. Let's see. Another mindset that can make it very difficult to solve the problem, especially when it comes to homekeeping, juggling, managing all the things that we have to do, is I think a lot of us, when we see these influencers online, y'all think we are all on the same playing field when it comes to the way that we show up. And I want to say that is not the case. And I want to talk about habits in particular. Sometimes you don't know the habits that somebody has brought into their homekeeping life and how they compare to your habits. So let's say that we have someone who literally from the time they are in diapers, they have been instilled with, these habits, these foundational homekeeping habits from the time that they were babies. I'm going to do my dishes, I'm going to do the laundry, I'm going to do the hot spots, I'm going to do it at this time. They have these sequences that were handed down to them, possibly from their family. And then when they go into their home life, they're not starting from scratch because they've been building those habits little by little, throughout their whole childhood, adolescence, teenage life, college life, whatever. And now they're a mom. But then you have people like me who didn't really feel like they received those habits when they were a kid. I didn't, have anyone just breathing down my shoulder. Not saying that people who've been doing their habits since they were little had people breathing down their shoulder, but I didn't have that influence in my life that taught me about consistency, that taught me about daily routines and how they make my life easier and how they add up over time. So literally, I'm becoming a mom and I'm starting from scratch. I'm just, doing the best that I can. I feel like I'm constantly behind and I'm just scrapping, trying to pull it all together. And so when you're watching a social media video or a YouTube video and you see someone, they're doing all the things, you have to take into consideration where they started. If this is something that they've been doing for, decades, of course it feels easy for them. Of course they can do more. Of course they have the stamina because they've been building it up over time. But you may not be able to approach your situation in the same way and not experience burnout if that's not your case, if you haven't been building yourself up. So give yourself permission to start with, the foundation. Give yourself permission to scale it back a little bit, and let's start with the basics. Let's get like our foundational level built up. Let's build those foundational habits. And then once we build our habits, we can start to grow. And then, you get to be like Becky and Molly and Sue and them too one day. But you have to start. I think that it's helpful to start. If you don't want to get burned out, it's helpful to allow yourself to start from the beginning and build those routines up. And they may not take as long as you think they do. And then you'll have the stamina, and then you'll have the ability to do your all-day cleans and whatever, you're trying to go for. But if you're wondering why, some people can do it and you feel overwhelmed, it's possibly because you don't have the habits, or you haven't had the opportunity to build your habits in the same way as maybe someone else. So when it comes to habits, I just feel like sometimes, as I mentioned, for me, I was trying to do things that, possibly these people have been working on all their lives. And here I am, day one, year one, trying to do the same thing. And it just took me a little bit of time of rewinding, going back to the basics, getting strategic about it. And now I feel like I can do more. I don't want to, and I don't have to because of the system that I have, but now it definitely feels more doable, if I want to be doing some of the things that I see some of my fellow sisters doing on social media. So anyway, sometimes I feel like we all can struggle with thinking that's a little unhelpful, especially about the way that we think about a problem. I said I was going to share 4, but y'all heard my alarm. I got to go get these kids in school. But sometimes the way that we think about it can be a little unhelpful. But I think that, like I mentioned, just plugging into people who are maybe approaching it a little bit differently, maybe who have solved the problem, especially people who are about building you up from the ground up. I think that if you just connect into communities like that, like I have my peaceful homekeeping community, you connect into coaching like that, it can help you start to open your eyes and open your mind and see your problem from a different perspective. And it's once you allow yourself to look at your problem differently, then you also allow yourself to think about strategies from that perspective, which can be more helpful to you over time. So if you constantly feel like you're hitting your head up against the wall, you keep struggling with the same thing over and over again, just ask yourself, is it a problem with my perspective? Is it a problem with the way that I'm looking at this? And is there a way to look at this? Or are there alternative ways of viewing this problem that could be more helpful for me? So that's all I wanted to say. I'm thinking about coming on Instagram more often. I don't know. I have like mixed feelings about Instagram, but I like Instagram because I don't feel the pressure to make like these long, extravagant, drawn out videos. Like I like just being able to, like, if I have like a thought or idea, just be able to throw at my camera and start talking. That sounds horrible, throw at my camera. So that's why I'm here today. I'm going to experiment with this for the month of January, and we'll see how it goes. And then I'll just decide what to do after that. So, hey, Amy, also congratulations with your community. You're doing amazing. Thank you. Hey, Amaris. Yeah, my mama never taught me either. It's certainly been a journey. Girl, I totally understand. Yes, I love that. I found listening to books helped me change my mindset for sure. Also, those self-help books, they're gold. Yeah, I feel like for me, self-help books, I love self-help books. I like listening to podcasts. Girl, I've been coming across people on YouTube, and I just feel like I'm very grateful to live in a time where it feels easy to listen to like different perspectives and ideas. And at first it was kind of uncomfortable for me to like hear people just tell me about myself and how I'm doing stuff wrong and, maybe think about it like this. But then over time, I'm like, the more that I've just been at least receptive, I don't have to agree with everything everybody says, but at least open-minded and receptive to new ideas, the more it just seems like my life changes and for the better. So I'm very much into mindset because I just feel like I said, many people can look at the same problem, the same event, and interpret it completely different, have different responses. And I feel like it all starts with the way that you just processed that event, the way that you interpreted that event. And we all can have different interpretations of the same thing. And so for me, I like being peaceful. I believe in good vibes, good energy. And for me, I know that a big piece of that comes with like the way that I think about stuff. And so anyway, I need to go get these kids in school or they're going to be late, but I will talk to you guys later. Peace.